Thank you. Which one's this for?
Historic board. So
What's
ZBA,
this?
ZBA will be down the hall.
CBA's, the Coalition for Better.
CBN was on the historic court at one point, though, right? No?
It said on the billboard, like where Moody Street was, it said it's public hearings, public hearing.
Public hearing, yeah, there is a public hearing scheduled for the CBA.
But well, okay,
Yep.
are we looking at the ZBA, the zoning
I
board?
said C,
Oh,
C,
okay.
CBA, Coalition for Better Acres.
Yeah, there'll be nothing here for them tonight, they're continuing and they'll be back at 11.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't know why I joined that. I'll watch them.
Not even Fletcher Street, you don't think that applies?
Fletcher Street, the CBA project's not gonna be here tonight.
Oh,
No, it's not, it's downtown.
Fletcher Street?
Don't get me going.
we'll watch anyway.
Good.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening and welcome to the March 9th Historic Board meeting. We have 3 public hearings this evening, followed by our normal course of the agenda. The first public hearing is DLHD 26-31, which is 281 and 463 Moody Street. The applicant has requested that there be an extension to this hearing, and so I ask for a motion to continue this hearing until May.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I second.
Second by Troy. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to the second hearing. Our second hearing this evening is DLHD 26-33, which is for 291 and 341 Jackson Street. And so we would like to call the subject to the podium for their presentation.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Haley Glidden. I work for Kevin and Forbes, who's the developer on this project. Did you guys get papers yet, or no? Or were you able to review it on your computers?
I'll take a copy.
Okay, perfect. So these are just the building elevations with the materials list, And then this is the overall plan.
Right.
Does anyone else need it? I'll just read these back here, so if anyone wants something.
Sure.
We are just looking for approval for our permit for this project to move forward. It's currently in review with the preliminary COC with the Hamilton Canal Design Group as well. So we have TAT here as our architect for any specific questions you have on the design or facade materials. The unit numbers went down to 362 units from 363 on the last plans to accommodate a first floor bike storage room in the main building, which is parcel A, we're calling it now. But open to any questions you guys have. We also provided an animation based on your comments last meeting, just to provide kind of a ground floor view and how it integrates into the neighborhood.
Okay, thank you for that. I just want to go through this because this is a hearing tonight. Are there any individuals that want to speak in favor of this project? Are there any individuals who want to speak in opposition of this project?
Can you get
Oh,
to the?
okay, so we need you to come to the microphone and identify yourself, and then you can,
My name is Denise Warren. I've lived at 219 Jackson Street for 5 years, and I was there from the beginning of the last big construction project, which was 201 Canal Street. So the reason I'm in opposition initially is mostly because we just don't have a lot of information. But what we experienced during the last building, which I can only assume would be similar, is noise violations, and specifically when noises from construction were only allowed to happen after 7:30 a.m. That didn't happen. They started sometimes as early as 6:30. Frequently, trucks and other, like, construction equipment would arrive as early sometimes as 5 o'clock in the morning and would be idling these trucks for hours. The other big problem that we had with the 2-year project was that mounds and mounds of building material, I assume was a type of concrete dust, was never hosed down, was never tarped, and became airborne. Since that time, I can't open my windows. They've been sealed from concrete dust. It's definitely a violation, and they're still working on it. Also, our air filtration units were clogged with dust as well. So that's why I'm in opposition. It's not necessarily something I would continue to be in opposition, but those are the two main reasons that me and many others, because I'm the head of the Tenants Association there, are very fearful of this project. Thank you.
thank you.
May I respond? Is that okay?
We will go to a board question and answer, and then we could probably address it at that point,
Yeah.
right? And so is there anyone else in opposition of the project? Okay, so we conclude that portion of this hearing. I open it up to the board for questions, and before we start, I just ask Steve, with regards to some of those issues just brought up by our speaker, is that something that is managed by the building department? Who would oversee that, the construction noise and that?
That would not be an historic board issue. That would be the building commissioner and the inspectors and development services who would address any concerns regarding dust, timing of work beyond hours, trucks, that sort of thing. And they regularly do that on other projects, but it would be the building commissioner and the inspectors who would address those items.
Sure. So if someone has concerns regarding that, do they go direct to the building commissioner? Do they go to?
Right to right to development services, and the local inspector could address it up to the building commissioner himself.
Sure. Okay.
I have a question. Can we go on record, Steve, through you, so you can write a memo to the building inspectors, whatever, for the cities, so that we would approve this, but we want to make sure that this doesn't repeat itself on Jackson Street with this construction project?
Well, we can inform the building commissioner that the project's been approved, and to be sure that all relevant and respective city and state and federal ordinances and laws are respected with regards to construction. But they would do that regardless.
Yeah, but I'm wondering if you can just write a memo.
I could.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Steve and Grabe. I open it up to the board for questions. Just to lead this off, I know we were here for an informational session before, so I thank you for all the revisions and the drawings and the like. And I hope Steve was very helpful, as I'm sure he is,
More than helpful.
right? And so, right, which is great. So I open up to the board for any questions regarding any of the changes. You have no questions? No questions from Giovanni? Again, I would just reiterate, again, this is just a nice project that just fits well with this space and kind of reckons back to what used to be there, even though it's a totally different purpose, for it's not industrial use, but the mass and size and just looks well, and just with the color blocking and everything, it just kind of breaks it up enough that it's not a giant one.
Giant blob.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the neighbor, like the courthouse across the street. But I thank you for that, and I feel this is a very formidable project for that neighborhood.
We're excited.
And I'd just like to thank the applicant and also the architectural team for the submittals, for the plans. The elevations showing the materials were particularly useful, I hope for the board members to see ahead of time, and the public as well. And also that design animation I thought was really, really useful. I hope that addressed some of the concerns raised at the informational presentation last month.
Okay, and I know we have a recommendation here on a motion that has several conditions. Has Steve reviewed those with you prior? What the conditional approval? They would be made to you. We could go over them all here,
Yeah,
or?
if you don't mind reviewing them, I don't know. I know I got a memo that said what the building is, but
Yeah, it's, Steve?
Yeah, that memo would have had all of the recommended conditions in it, and they're pretty standard ones for construction projects like this. The first one's related to materials and color samples. The second one's related to window and door scope of work. The third one is roof plan and specifications for any rooftop elements. The fourth one is the canal walk along the canal at the 291 Jackson parcel, ensuring that the details match the existing canalway elements in the immediate vicinity, railings and such like that. The canal walk infrastructure around 341 being protected and accessible as safety during construction allows for the public. And then vibration monitoring throughout the foundation and construction of certain areas around there of the historic resources, and then just some of the loose ends, lighting, signage, cameras, things like that. That's all been provided.
okay, perfect.
Okay, great. Thank you, Steve. Any questions or concerns from the board?
So I think we addressed that it's a little bit off topic of what we're really here for, but just to give her a moment, did you want to respond to the thoughts about construction?
Yeah, so we have, just for an example, we have a project on a lake in Wakefield, and our GC has done a very good job of managing the town's expectations there and also the community's expectations. That this particular project doesn't have really any demo since they're just parking lots, so with the dust mitigation, it will be a lot easier. That one was a full concrete building that we had to take down, and we had crews every single day out there spraying to mitigate the dust, and they did a really good job. So, and being someone that has also lived across from a construction project, I know your pain. So we would be on top of our GC when we select them and making sure that we bring that up weekly or bi-weekly whenever we meet it with them. If we get any complaints, and knock on wood, hopefully we don't, we'll address them right away.
Yeah, because as much as it is more for the buildings and management of construction, it's a different department than historic. But maybe I should have pointed out that, like, the windows are probably gonna need to be replaced. I liked the fact that the windows looked like they belonged at the old mill.
Yeah.
This is a mill that goes back to the 1850s, right? The bricks need to be repointed. They're literally falling out from all of the vibration, and I'm glad you mentioned that. Because when they put in the new bricks, they don't look the same. They're very different.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Steve, if windows had to be replaced in that location, will those come back before us? Or how?
They would have to come back and match what was approved originally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we'd have purview over that again, so,
Thank you.
yes. And did we give you enough information just to go forward in case, you're right? So if something does go awry, get on the phone, right?
Yeah, and I mean, just to jump in as the director of the planning department, certainly noted. Hear you for sure. I want to make sure we don't punish CCF for sins of the past that they had nothing to do with, but I think it's important that we learn our lesson from bad situations that happened previously. So for sure, it's on our radar. Thank you very much for taking the time to come out. Although, like folks have said, it's not necessarily under the purview of the historic board, but I think hearing anxieties from abutting neighbors is an important thing for us to know, and I think frankly is an important thing for CCF to know coming into the city to do this project, that people are sort of have had bad experiences, and what can we do to make sure that this isn't going to be one of them. My work with CCF to date tells me that I feel like this is going to be a good working relationship, and we'll be able to make sure that we mitigate things that went sideways in other projects. But certainly appreciate you taking the time to have that conversation with us. And I think there was a request that we formally note that this happened, that this conversation took place as a part of this, and I think that we can and should do that, and be sure that we share that information with the commissioner, and that it becomes a part of the package when permits and stuff are being issued. So not exactly a fit for this group, but I think an important conversation to have anyway, and we have a way to capture that the conversation happened moving forward.
Nicely done.
So do we just need a motion?
Yep, so moving on, yes, so with, I think if there are no more comments, I want to call for a motion to issue the historic board permit for the construction of 2 6-story mixed-use residential buildings and associated site improvements at 291, 341 Jackson Street in downtown Lowell Historic, with the conditional conditions that Steve read a few minutes ago. Look for a motion.
Motion to approve just what you said.
Okay,
I'll second that.
seconded by Giovanni. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you so much.
Motion
for your
approved.
time. We
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thanks.
It really does. It does, right? So I feel it's a good place to get it mentioned. Yes. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
It's a far cry from the crappy little bar that's there right now. Did you ever used to go to, did you ever go to Fair?
No, I feel bad. I never got to. There's a couple of.
Great cheeseburger.
Do they really?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's don't count your calories.
Okay, our next hearing is DLHD 26-34 for 43 Fletcher Street, the former Ashworth File Factory. So I ask the applicant to step forward.
Right. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Barry Gannick of Gannick Architects. This is my colleague, Carl Vixnens. Together, we're working as project architects on this project for our client, Walter de Carvalho of the Boston Group, who I thought was going to be here, but is not yet, at least. I was here back in December, and we've greatly enhanced the presentation and the design, and I wanted to go through the list of things we've been working on, if that's okay.
Yeah, please do.
Sure. We're here tonight to request approvals for both the demolition of the existing building on the site and the approval of the design that we're proposing. The existing building on the site is a small wood frame building that has deteriorated dramatically. It is unsafe to enter at this point. And we did go in, you have a letter from our structural engineer showing his review and his findings and recommending demolition of the project, of the building, because of the anticipated cost to restore the existing building just to its present form, which would not accommodate further development of a viable project on the site, certainly not what this developer is looking to do. He found significant structural deterioration, unsafe conditions that make rehabilitation impractical, construction methods and materials that have not aged well, and he notes extensive repairs that would be required merely to stabilize the building. And despite careful consideration, other preservation options, our opinion, along with the structural engineers, that the building cannot reasonably be restored or reused in a safe and economically viable way. The new building proposed is a mixed-use building, a 6-story building, ground floor commercial, and 5 floors of apartments above. These would be market-rate apartments, and there's 4 on each floor, so it's a podium building. The first 2 floors would be steel and concrete deck, and the upper 4 floors would be wood frame construction, a very standard method of building these days, certainly in urban environments. The project will include active commercial frontage on the street, much-needed residential housing, increased activity and security in the neighborhood. I've seen this so often when we're doing projects right here in Lowell, that we go into abandoned buildings and we restore them, we bring new uses to them, and there's activity on the street, and the safety level and the brightness is just dramatic, the change. And another big issue that we always see is the increased tax base for the city that these development projects provide. We have worked hard and carefully to design the building that we feel it fits comfortably within the historic character of Lowell, while clearly representing contemporary construction methods. The building is designed to reflect the scale and the rhythm of historic buildings in the area, which is ground floor commercial, typically with apartments above. And this ground floor would be suitable, it has large glass windows, suitable for retail or a restaurant, which actually the developer runs a chain of restaurants and may put something there himself. The residential floors above with windows that are vertical proportion, that reflect earlier buildings and their proportions, and we work to provide a spacing of the windows that reflect earlier designs and buildings. In the facade composition, the materials, we're using a brick material. As you can see here, it's a dark brick for the main body of the, take this with me. Dark brick for the main body of the building, back at the street line with bands rhythmically installed as the building rises, and some the bays that extend out over the sidewalk 3 feet, and which have been approved in a first round by the planning board for approval. That will be sheathed in fiber cement panels, and we will install them as a rain screen system, which I'll get into in a moment, but also not just in a rectangular grid, but in a masonry coursing pattern that emulates stone placement on buildings historically throughout New England, commercial buildings that you would see. So it's this combination of new materials referencing old construction techniques. The bays. This site is a postage stamp site. It's a 3,500 square foot site. The bays allow us to provide plans that work on smaller units and help us get the unit count up to 20 units, just 20 units. There's 4 per floor, and there's 1 2-bedroom unit per floor, 1 2-bedroom, right, and 3 1-bedroom units per floor. And the bays are a dramatic help to provide the required square footage to get those in. And we change the material in a similar way to the historic buildings that would have a brick facade and often a wood bay extended window beyond. You know, in some larger buildings, the extended bay could be masonry as well. And we're going with a newer system, as I said, a rain screen system that provides a modern component, helps us with the new energy codes, allows us to put the exterior insulation on the building as required by code, provide the air gap which dries out the structure in wet weather, lengthens the life of the materials and the systems of the building. So we see it as a win-win going all around. As I said, the materials, we worked, we believe the dark brick, the coloring, I know is a question, but we've really worked hard to, why don't you show the photos sheet. The McKittrick's building right across the street has a lot of dark stone granite on that facade. And rather than go always with the red brick of mill buildings, Carl, maybe tilt it, yeah, a little bit more. That, you can see the gray right in the middle there above the now leasing sign? Yeah, here and here. And on the street facade, it's darker stone down here facing the building. And so the two colors, the darker stone and the panels, really take off from that building right there and unites it. And I know in December I referenced the courthouse, which has gray tones to it also, even though it is a distance away, but there's nothing in between the two buildings at this point. And this facade is, as you come down Thorndike Street to Dutton Street, it is right in front of you when you're sitting at the light, and you can see it there. I talked about the construction approach being a podium building, and with the rain screen, I talked about it improves the energy performance, protects the structure from moisture, and allowing, the cladding, the masonry, and the panel systems to perform much better to a longer life over the life of the project. And that although the assembly is contemporary, the visible materials and detailing are carefully composed to remain consistent with the historic architectural patterns of the area. The windows on the upper floors, again, are proportioned, vertically. You can show that. to represent, similar proportions on adjacent buildings. We had changed that from somewhat rectangular windows we had on the earlier scheme. And, we feel this is, works well with the neighbors of neighboring buildings. And, of course, at the base, the large storefront glazing, which just provides life at the street, and again, it's safety. Okay, can you see? Also, I can give you.
Because I rent at Weston Avenue, I work at the courthouse, so
Oh, I'm sorry.
guilty.
Oh, sure. You might have that. Sure. So the community benefits for this project. Number one, replace a derelict and unsafe structure. I mean, bottom line. It provides new residential apartments, very much needed, even if they're building 300 units around the corner on the previous project. Activate the street with the commercial space, increase safety through the activity and the lighting. There's downlights underneath the extended bays that provides lighting along the street all the time. Talked about taxes go up, so there's financial benefit to the city. And we're introducing high-quality architecture in design and the detailing of how this building will be put together that respects Lowell's historic context. And so I say, in short, the project transforms an eyesore into a long-term asset to the community. And I'm going to wind this up because I'm getting out of breath. We believe this proposal is more than just a new building. It's a chance to transform the site that is currently unsafe, eyesore, into a lasting asset to the neighborhood that we feel strongly respects Lowell's historic character through its material palettes, its detailing, while meeting the modern standards for durability, energy performance, and livability. Again, it brings apartments that are greatly needed. We have really studied the surrounding context, as I said, and the materials that are adjacent, and just working to make the design fit the site, its immediate context, its greater context. We feel it is very strong in all those categories. So we respectfully ask for your approval for the demolition and the approval of this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition of the project? Anyone here to speak in favor of the project? Okay. I will close the hearing and open it up to the board for questions and comments. I'll start off. I know we spoke, when you had the informational session here. I really appreciate how the building has evolved with the color and the textures, which makes it more relatable, right? Because that was kind of one of my big feedback comments back in December. And, you're coming out of the Acre neighborhood where it's very patchwork colors and textures and the like, and then you enter this new area under development, right? Hamilton Canal, which is footed by that monstrosity courthouse, which is just a big gray elephant in the room, right? And I will make it no secret that I'm not a fan of it, but it's there, right? And so how do you reconcile it? And I feel like this is new construction. I think we all understand that if you have a dilapidated building, it needs to go down. So I don't see much pushback on the demolition piece. But I feel this is just a nice new building that kind of reconciles that neighborhood to this new area that's under development, the project we just previously approved for Jackson Street as well, and that courthouse, right? And it's, I think you've kind of incorporated a lot of what we talked about.
Yes.
I'll leave it up to the rest of my colleagues because they had some of their own questions too. But for me, I feel this is a very nicely fit building for that area.
Thank you.
And I'll open it up to anyone on the board
I have
for
a
comments.
logistical question. So is it two different votes? It's one vote for the demo and then a vote it's all together? Right, okay, thanks.
Yeah, I'd like to definitely commend you on the articulation of the project. I know when you were here last time, clearly, you've gone back and really, I think, do a great job with the materiality and the scale, and it is pretty convincing. Just a quick question. I was wondering, have you thought about, say, like an entry canopy, right, at the facade? Because I like the 3D images you have there, and I'm just thinking, if I'm walking down the street, like what sort of clues me into like where I actually enter.
Yeah, one more element to announce that even more could really help. Did you want to address that, Carl? Oh, Carl, you're talking to the mic.
Currently, the entrance for the residential vestibule is underneath the balcony, so there's a vertical element there. And we're assuming some large number sign. I think part of the design goal was to kind of create a fairly sleek streetscape and to not peripherally distract from the overhangs, which are already out there. But certainly a canopy, I think we have about 9 feet to the top of the glass, so certainly we have a couple more feet to the underside of the balconies that we could embellish and design something.
Okay, no, thanks for the explanation again. Well done. Thank you.
I have a question. I apologize. I was not at the last meeting, so I didn't hear the informational session. But a couple of things. First of all, not that we need any more parking downtown, but is there a parking arrangement for this unit?
They're making arrangements with the city garages.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. And my...
And one more item is that the site right next to this parcel right here, that parcel there is city-owned.
It is city-owned.
It is city-owned, and we're pursuing with the city, if it can be purchased,
I see.
to have some parking adjacent.
Okay. And I know there is some parking for the commercial little plaza behind there, correct? But that's
The
strictly...
upper right there.
Yes,
Yeah.
but that's strictly for the plaza, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Actually, this relates a little bit to the idea of having some kind of a entryway that's more conspicuous. And this is often done in rehab projects. I'm familiar with one recently done in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, where they had rehabbed an old textile building, as it turned out.
Mm-hmm.
But what they did was they created a little exhibit space showing some of the photographs of the old building, the old mill, and even some equipment. So I was wondering if there's any place in here where you could have something that acknowledges either with, some photographs, maybe with an artifact.
Ground floor? Yeah. There, it's a tight site, but the ground floor, there's an entrance lobby, which is the residential entry that we mentioned, pointing out.
It's this right here?
Yeah. So right in the front.
In an elevator lobby?
So that lobby could serve for smaller things on the wall. And at the same time, the ground floor is unspoken for at the moment. So it's not impossible to think that, something could be carved out of that as well.
Yeah. Or even propose that we take one panel of the storefront for a shadow box display or something.
Okay.
So in terms of the demolition we're considering, Steve, would you tell us a little bit more about this building's history and how long it's been vacant?
Goes back to about the Civil War. It was a small manufacturing facility early on, very little known about it. The inventory form is what it is, it's what was in there. It's more recently been known as Fury's Tavern. One artifact you might want to consider is an old pool table. They might still be in there. Yeah. It was bad back then. I don't know how long it's been vacant for, Aurora? It's been at least 2015.
Yeah, prior to that even.
It's been, I think, longer than that, to be honest with you. I know that we had, back when Brian Martin was city manager, I had cited the owner at the time for minimum maintenance, and that's why that one facade facing the parking lot actually has decent windows and siding. That was because we pushed them on that. But other than that, I would say it's probably the last improvement that ever happened to the building. And I would say 2015 is generous in terms of how long it's been vacant. It's more than 11 years.
Steve, one thing to add you might know. One thing to add you might know is that the Center for Lowell History has a wonderful collection of the engineering department record photographs, and it's possible that there could be an historic image in that collection. Might be worth looking into.
Yeah, I've used that collection many times for a variety of projects, print and digital. And the Ryan block, which is what the building's known as next to your building where the laundromat is on the ground floor, there are a couple of images in that collection, the city engineers collection, that catch a glimpse of this building, very slight glimpse, because you have to remember there were two other buildings in front of it. It was much more dense, and you're going to have to look to really find it. But we'll take another look through, because it's actually something a lot of developers have been doing, is integrating screened images of maps or building historic photos on walls in lobbies and such. So, it was the same thing when we see the charter school coming up again down the road. They have a lot of scrims and things planned for the ground floor along the street now. And a lot of those images, I'm going to be providing them guidance. They're site-specific, Lowell-specific, rather than just placeholders. As you know, there's a wealth of images, so we'll look and do some co-researching here.
Oh, absolutely. And any of those images would be perfect to hang, a very easy thing to do.
I just want to note my appreciation for your willingness to meet with us at these informational sessions to look at your preliminary designs and to listen to feedback from us on ways that the design could be tweaked to make it more contextual and fit with our guidelines. So I appreciate your willingness to listen to us, to take some of our ideas into consideration, and I feel like it's resulted in a successful design. So I think.
Thank you.
Anytime an architect or developer is willing to meet with us or with Steve to get that initial feedback, it always results in a better product in the end. So thank you for that, for taking the time to do that.
I've been dealing with this guy for 20-plus years on these projects, and really, we met with him, and thank you, Steve, for all of your assistance.
He was very also met with David Lieb, and he was very impressed with the submittal package, and was especially appreciative of the sections that showed the range screen and the work that goes into developing this and compliant with the new energy codes, which are having an influence on design and also an expense too.
Huge, huge. Yeah, it's very complicated. But putting that all together, it's not easy, and to make it look the way we want it to look, all of us.
Yep.
I just want to say, I mean, I know we did just like approve a 300-unit project or whatever, but it's important that we get a variety of sized projects. And so, not everybody wants to live in a building that big, but we still need more housing. And so I like the idea of, a 20-unit building in, at this location, I think is like perfect. It's still ideally located, close to a ton of things, really walkable, but also like at a scale that I think, a different kind of tenant is looking for a smaller building than looking to live in a really big building. And so I appreciate that we got to see like a diversity of sizes. But I also think, it's really impressive the kind of the layout that you've got going on here, the look of this building. I think it's really impressive. The kind of the layout that you've got going on here, the look of this building. I think it's really impressive. The kind of the layout that you've got going on here, the look of this building. I think it's really impressive. The kind of the layout that you've got going on here, the look of this building. it's still like a really sophisticated look. It's a really nice building. It's gonna have really nice amenities and layouts for units in a much smaller package, which I think fits really well for this particular location in the acre. Makes a lot more sense to me. So I, thank you for like working with what you've got and making it fit really well with the neighborhood. I think it's going to be a really great addition. I was saying to George that Fieri's had a really delicious, greasy cheeseburger, but it's been a long time since that place has been open and providing any kind of community asset. And so seeing that site, this site turn into housing with, hopefully some exciting retail along this strip. I think it's really nice with the McKittrick building across the street. There's like a Dunks right behind is like Saigon Sandwich, and they've got like a really great business going there. And so I think having new tenants, but also having some new retail in this area is going to be really great for the acre and still really walkable to downtown. So I'm excited to see this happen.
To the point on the greasy burgers, after the business closed and the new owner, not the current owner, but someone in intermediary had bought it, we went through there and I looked for the greasy hamburger machine behind the bar and it was missing. So I tried to rescue it. Sorry.
It's somewhere.
I do have one final question. It's not particularly germane to the approval of the project, but if you are able to acquire that land that the city owns, what are your thoughts on, or have you thought about what that space will be?
Parking initially, but if we could have acquired it in a timely fashion, we would have doubled the size of the project. We had initial sketches, but the process working with City Hall hasn't been quick, to be honest.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, so we have a recommended motion here to issue a historic permit for the demolition and construction of a 6-story mixed-use residential building at 43 Fletcher Street in downtown Historic District. There are 4 conditions. I'm sure Steve has reviewed those with you. Do you need us to review those with you? Okay, great. So we look for a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Good luck.
Yeah, we won't miss
It's like carrying bricks.
That is,
That's the main part.
Hey, this is off the record. I have a question. This is interesting. Should I turn this on? It's off the record.
Nothing's off the record, so.
All right, nothing.
Good night.
Thank you. Just a question. Might this development kind of urge the city to make use of that open space? Because this really is, kind of a key entryway into the city visually as you come down, Dutton Thorndike Street. You do see the courthouse, which I have mixed feelings about. But, as far as kind of an entry into the Acre neighborhood, this is a key entryway. So I'm wondering, here the city has this property. Maybe it's a good thing it didn't turn over for a larger development here, but I mean, there could be like nice green space there, right? Right now, it's just kind of a empty lot, isn't it, with,
I think the adjoining business, like Saigon Sandwich uses it too for parking, so it's, there's parking along the
is there
front of
parking
it.
there too? It's
That-
not paved though, is that?
Yeah, it is. It's all paved.
Oh, it is, okay.
Yeah, it's all paved. It's parking that actually is used by Saigon and people using the canal walk right there at the beginning.
And a lot of people who don't want to pay for parking at the courthouse. So that
right?
is going to be an issue. Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that if they do get it for based on what we've seen from like comparable developers, if they came to us and said we'd want to put like Uber, Lyft, pickup, drop off, somebody brought home their groceries and needs to like run their stuff upstairs. So like short-term parking for tenants, I wouldn't be shocked if that was the request that came in.
Great question, and great observation, right? Because there is always an opportunity there to do that, right? And
Even if it's for, like temporary pull in, pull out, there could be some nice landscaping done there.
well, I think of the parking lot on O'Connell Parkway, right, or adjacent to
yeah,
that,
that's
right? And it's a beautiful garden,
That's a good
right?
point.
And I think there's an opportunity there maybe to envision something like that yeah. So moving on, we have the minutes from our February 9th meeting. I just have one correction, Steve, on page 4. The chairman says, break it done, it should be break it down.
Nice catch.
So on page 4, roughly about halfway down the page, it says the chair said he liked the color blocking. The end of that first sentence, it should be breaks down, D-O-W-N. Okay. I know you were criticizing my microphone skills earlier, so I will.
You're in good company, though. Dick Lockhart was always told by LTC to lean towards the mic as well.
Got it. Okay, so aside from that edit, any other edits? We look for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve?
Okay, look for a second. Okay, we have a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. On to other business, Steve. We have enforcement violations and updates.
Yeah, George noticed, and I have two that are, the Boost Mobile across the way has one of the screens on static, so we'll be visiting them again and saying. The Boost Mobile has a static screen, so we'll just say, please turn it off. This will be the second time I've had to do that. They turned the right one off once, but have left the left one on, so anyway. But other than that, we're looking into a few more minimum maintenance sites for the spring. Now that we're starting to hopefully get warmed up now. The rest of this administrator's report is pretty much informational. Doors Open Lowell. The roster was locked in, and then today we added in a new building, the Kirk Street School, the HIPAA Center, the Greek Center, that's being converted to 6 units of housing. And he's wrapping up in there. It's absolutely beautiful inside. And when I met him today on a different project on Merrimack Street, the owner, he said, come, let's take a look. Okay, so we went and saw this project. And I'd been in there during construction. It's the finish work that's happening now. And he's going to reserve 1 unit for the event. Like, he's going to start leasing pretty soon. And I think it's $1,800 for a 1-bedroom, $23 for a 2-bedroom in there. So we'll have that open for that event. If he's not going to lease the last one if he's at that point. So that'll be fun to see that. And then I think that's pretty much it on that.
Okay. Administrators report? Is that
And
same?
that's about, yeah.
Okay.
Although, tonight, what was that, 160 million in development that was just approved in one meeting. Would have had the CBA, but they're still working on refining the architecturals. That would have been another 40 million.
Yeah.
So,
No, but I think it's really transformational, that whole junction, the Dutton, right? Fletcher Junction, right, is going to really go through quite an evolution over the next.
the Cabot Forbes people are great to work with. They just, again, I mentioned at the last meeting, you're going to have the juncture of 3 canals with boats and trolleys out your front window in a park. It's just, how many places can you go that has that?
Yeah, right. Board member items and inquiries. I know I do have one, Steve, right? I know I have one question, inquiry, right? And I guess this is just more of a question, maybe to put on the radar and maybe get some thoughts on this is, I know we always talk about the neon open signs and businesses, especially in the downtown area. There are some businesses that have neon ATM signs in their windows. Same process, different process, like,
It's the same thing. It's a lit window sign.
yep, so, okay, so it's just lit window sign, it doesn't matter what it says.
Correct.
Okay, I wanted to clarify that. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'll point some out to you.
Please do.
in the
Oh, no,
near
no,
future, yes.
no, please do,
No,
because
that was-
there's a trick that if it's in the window, no, but if it's on the side wall, on the wall,
Yeah, sure.
that's in the standards that we can do that. So yeah, just shoot me a list of any you've seen, I'll take a look.
I will, most certainly. Thank you. Anything else? Okay, we will look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll
Okay,
second.
okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, let's go forth and enjoy this beautiful weather.
Honest to God, I made one for that burger thing, I couldn't find it.
That's the only thing I remember about that place.
We go there at night in the back rooms and shoot pool, and it was scary then.
Yes. Not a place you would be if you like were too worried about kitchen standards, but they really put out a good
But
burger.
I remember, this machine was almost like one of those ones you see in the old original burger places in New Haven, near Yale. And they're vertical, and they put the burgers in vertically, and it was. Isn't that what they did, White Castle? White Castle did that too, I think, yeah.